What's going on, guys? Today we're looking at a little bit of a red day for Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. We're going to go over a couple of charts, and we're also going to look over a couple of articles that I think are really interesting. We continue to see buying pressure with the spot Bitcoin ETFs, and we're going to go over an article there. We also have something going on that I want to talk about with Bitcoin futures, and I also want to talk about an article featuring Michael Saylor and how Bitcoin is the exit strategy out of other traditional assets. So let's talk about all of that in this video. If you get something useful out of this video, make sure you like, subscribe, ring the notification bell. Definitely appreciate the support, and let's get started. First off, Michael Saylor will forever buy Bitcoin. There's no reason to sell the winner. And Michael Saylor says, it's kind of funny, I'm going to be buying the top forever. Bitcoin is the exit strategy. And some people might be saying, why are you buying the top? Why don't you look for a lower price? Why don't you wait until crypto winter? Well, that's because Michael Saylor sees the big picture. Every 4-year Bitcoin cycle, we're going to continue to see new all-time highs. And at the bottom of the bear market, we're going to settle at higher lows than the previous bear market. For instance, this bear market, we saw $15,000 Bitcoin. And in the next future bear market, potentially in 2026, 2027, I'd argue that it's very safe to say we're never going to see a $15,000 Bitcoin again. Our potential bottom in the next crypto winter could be as low as only $40,000, $50,000. So being that we're right around 52-week highs, you could see this as buying the top. While knowing how Bitcoin operates and goes around a 4-year cycle, based on where we are in the halving cycle, this is clearly not the top yet. And as a side note, imagine if you were buying the top back in 2021, buying a 60, 65, nearly $70,000 Bitcoin. Well, going along Bitcoin's halving cycles, it shouldn't take you more than 3 years or so to be back in the green, to be back in profit. And if you utilized our last bear market, you would have brought your average down considerably and would likely already be deep in the green. And that's why this strategy, Michael Saylor gets it. You continue to buy, you continue to accumulate, knowing that in the next cycle, some of these low prices will never be seen. Now, I know a lot of you guys know how the halving works, and I'm sure many of us will take some profits, likely in 2025 or so. But in the end, I think it's always a good idea to at least hold some Bitcoin. And you never know, the 4-year cycle could always change now with these spot ETFs, this constant buying pressure now on Bitcoin. We could see a less severe bear market. But I'm getting a little sidetracked here, starting to ramble on, and I want to read you a quote and then give you some context. Saylor said the demand for Bitcoin generated by a growing appetite for ETF products has been far in excess of the supply from the miners, sometimes up to 10 times as much. And hundreds of millions of dollars of capital is flowing from the traditional analog ecosystem into the digital economy. There's a rising tide, it's going to lift all boats. And think about this, after the halving, the incoming Bitcoin supply will be roughly half. We will likely continue to see this spot ETF buying pressure going all the way into the halving. I do think a supply crunch is coming for Bitcoin. And of course, there's a possibility these spot Bitcoin ETFs start seeing a little bit less inflows, maybe after the initial hype draws down. Check this out. We saw nearly $2.5 billion flowing into the funds last week, which was the highest weekly total ever. I would argue that the spot ETF buying pressure is actually growing. And look at the spot ETFs. We now have ARK's ETF now to 1.5 billion. We have BlackRock now to 6.3 billion. Fidelity working its way to 5 billion. Bitwise now made it over that 1 billion mark. We are going to continue to see the net assets grow, and these spot ETF providers are going to continue to accumulate Bitcoin. Now, I want to get into Bitcoin on the chart and show you that we're reaching an important point here. Either we're going to break this roughly 50,500 and test 50, or we're going to bounce right here and start heading towards our resistance here right around this 53,000. So I do think it's a pretty important time to watch Bitcoin and see if we get a breakdown or a hold and a push up. But if we do break down, I think it's likely we see the mid to high 40s, which would be nothing less than a buying opportunity. And why did Bitcoin reject 53? Well, futures open interest hits a 2-year high. And when Bitcoin hit these levels of open interest on futures, it indicated a top. Back in November of 2021 and back in April, Bitcoin topped out here. When you get too many bets to the upside, usually the market wants to liquidate those. When you get too many bets to the downside, usually the market wants to liquidate those. So maybe we just have to shake out the leveraged traders before Bitcoin can create its next leg up. But it is healthy to see Bitcoin consolidate, not just continue breaking out. We're establishing a nice level here right around the 52,000 area. And this little pull for Bitcoin is accelerating the pullback for the miners. And looking at CleanSpark on the chart, looked like we were topping out here. We broke our ascending trend. We tried to establish support here at the 1650, couldn't hold it. Flipped as resistance, and now it looks like we're due to test this 15 area. Keep an eye on this descending channel, these 2 blue lines going down. If we break out of it, we could start pushing back up, heading towards our recent high. Otherwise, we could possibly break this 15 area and head down towards the 13s In my last video, I did mention that we have a gap in the 10 to 12 area. I think it's a good idea to keep some cash on the side, but to also be ready to buy as we head potentially towards the 13s, 14s. I wouldn't wait just for that gap. I would start adding towards that gap. And honestly, the cheaper CleanSpark gets, the better. You can acquire more shares, the lower the stock price goes. And with a company like CleanSpark, profitable quarters, in my opinion, the best miner out there, the most efficient miner, the best uptime in the industry, the best all-in cost to mine. You know, you should be welcoming these cheaper prices for CleanSpark, giving you the ability to acquire even more shares for the money you have. I also want to talk about BTBT. This is a Bitcoin miner as well, but it's also a play on Ethereum. They do stake Ethereum as well as mine Bitcoin. And we're seeing a nice little pull from our recent top here in the threes. We're now at this 270 area, and I do think this is a good time to acquire some BTBT. And before our recent little run here in mid-February, we established a nice double bottom, a W. There's some buying pressure down in this 250 area. I think now's a good time to be adding BTBT. And unless Bitcoin were to drastically break some really important support levels, I don't personally see BTBT getting down under the 2s ever again. And I do think now's a good time to be accumulating BTBT. And something related to BTBT, obviously, Ethereum just broke $3,000 the other day. And you know, I don't see a lot of talk about this, the Ethereum spot ETFs. I believe the deadline's in May, but this could draw in more hype as we get closer to those deadline dates. Now, Ethereum has been running up beautifully. I'd look for this pattern break here, this ascending trend line, this ascending support line. If we do break this, we might head down to some lower levels, potentially test this 27, 28 area. But I do think it's still a good time to be accumulating some Ethereum. We're still early in Bitcoin's 4-year cycle, and we're still before the halving, only a couple of months away, literally like under 2 months away. And why am I mentioning the halving when we're looking at Ethereum? Well, with the Bitcoin halving bringing Bitcoin up in price, the alts will soon follow. And I gotta say, I really like Ethereum. For one, we have the potential for the spot Ethereum ETFs, which will add to an insane amount of buying pressure similar to Bitcoin. But with Ethereum at a lower market cap, we might see that money move Ethereum's price even more so. And also, Ethereum is net deflationary. While there is new Ethereum introduced into the market, they also have a burn mechanic where more Ethereum is being burned than issued. That creates scarcity, and that is one major thing I like about Ethereum. Also, the fact that we just created 52-week highs, I do think we're going to continue to see it, maybe due for a little pullback first, which would be a great entry for a dip buy. But let me know what you guys think about Bitcoin, Ethereum. What other alts are you picking up? I do think it's a good time to start really choosing some good altcoins, start slowly building positions if you didn't throughout 2023, and get ready for the Bitcoin halving and the rest of 2024, which should be exciting for the alts. And let me know what Bitcoin miners you're picking up today. I do think days like these are great times to take advantage. Let me know what you're doing out there in the market. Thanks as always, guys, and I'll see you next time.